we got it good in America.
Mm-hmm.
We were just lucky to be born here, you know, and we could have been born somewhere else. And
Yeah.
our realities would have been different. They do say that like people who struggle and stuff, they have a lot of happiness. Whereas like people who always have it good and stuff, they're like not very happy. And it's crazy how the mind does that, right? I've read a bunch of books and stuff on that, but it is, I do feel like there's a lot of struggle out there in this world that doesn't need to be there. Why? I feel like corruption, whether it's in the government or big corporate things, you know, it's like, I do feel like the freedom that we have here in America is the reason why we have it the way we have it. It's the freedoms that, you know, we fought, you know, like the people fought for to have in this country.
What is going on, guys? Hope you're having a fantastic Saturday. I'm stoked to bring this conversation to you with Danny Bolton, the Boarman. He's just an outstanding individual, guys. I can't say that enough. He is such a positive guy, just great outlook on life. He is really why I wanted to bring him on the show. It's just that he is such a good dad, husband, loves traveling, loves the outdoors, loves shooting bows, lives on a beautiful island there in Hawaii, and has so much knowledge to impart. And I'm really stoked that he's going to share his story today with you guys. So definitely stay tuned for this one. Also, guys, I want to invite you personally to come join us over at the First Phorm Outdoors Facebook group. You're going to find an individual, find some friends, or find a group that you can mesh with that will help you continue to push through the slump you might be feeling already of your New Year's resolution, your New Year's challenge, and want you in on that group, guys. You're going to find people, everything from pro bass fishermen to whitetail hunters to out western hunters to people that just enjoy camping, love the outdoors, and are trying to live a happier, healthier, more successful lifestyle. So all of that to be said, go join First Phorm Outdoors Facebook group. Want to see you over there. If you're following along here on the podcast, you'll see that there's definitely something you need to tune into called the Why First Phorm Outdoors series. Now, I did a blast of them every single day for the first 2 weeks of the year, and then we're going to continue every other week with an episode of someone in the First Phorm community that is sharing with you why you should join the First Phorm Outdoors community in their opinion, from their points of view, not just mine. So with that being said, guys, go check that out. Subscribe here on the YouTube channel. If you're listening on the audio platforms as well, maybe while you're driving or something, you can't be watching the videos, go follow along, subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We've got some big things coming here for 2024. We've already surpassed 300 episodes, guys. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate your support. Now let's get after this weekend. Tune into this episode, and then let me know what you think in the comments down below. Have a fantastic weekend. And of course, get out, live your life, and love it. All right, everyone, welcome back to the RedBeard Outdoors podcast. I've got an outstanding guest for you guys. You may recognize him as Boarman or Danny Bolton. He is an outstanding individual, lives in Hawaii, so he's living the dream. He showed me his backyard before we got on the podcast, and I'm like, man, I'm not much of a beach person, but the mountains look gorgeous. That beach looks very enticing. So you're living the dream. Just a great family man. You guys probably recognize him through Montana Knife Company things, PSE, and a bunch of other things that Danny's involved in. So just has a good time, enjoys the outdoors, loves his family, and is an overall just awesome dude. So with that being said, Danny, for people that don't know who you are you in a nutshell?
Man, what an intro. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know if I'm as cool as you just made me sound, honestly, but
Dude, you were running in flip-flops on the PSE commercial, so that's pretty. I can hardly walk in flip-flops, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I can run in those things, no problem. I've done some big hikes in we call them slippers, but I've hiked, you know, over 10 miles a day in those things. I just like, they're just attached to my feet. Yeah, so like in a nutshell, brief, born and raised in Hawaii, married man, got a daughter who's a little badass, and love just trying to give her everything I possibly can to see her succeed in the things that she's passionate about, and also kind of share the outdoor world with her. And then for myself, just constantly trying to push myself to do, to not get old. It's like we do all these fun things when we're kids and then we just stop doing them. And I've done that and I've gone down that road. And uh, I just, it's, it's not a fun way to live. It's like, it's
Mm-mm.
so boring, like the constant routine of something. So I kind of tried to break out of that and just try to live a life that's not your normal one, but it makes it hard. There's no, you know, instructional book on how to do something different like that. It's easy to go get a full-time job and just work every day. And I've done that and it has its benefits 100%. I kind of miss some of those, but yeah, just trying to do something different and stay young.
There you go. No,
Yeah.
that's awesome. And I would say that living in Hawaii probably keeps you young. My wife really wants to go, and at first, I was kind of hesitant because I'm like, again, I'm not much of a beach person. Being a ginger, I can last on the beach for about an hour before I turn red. And so, but seeing all the mountains, and then it's funny. I turned it around on her the other day. I was like, oh yeah, let's go to Hawaii. She was like, what? She was like, what? Why do you want to go now? And I was like, babe, you've always wanted to go to Hawaii. And she's like, what can you hunt in Hawaii? I was like, dang
Yeah.
it, she caught me. I'm like, you go with, I'll bring Brent, one of my really good friends, and you go with his wife and go hang out on the beach, go shopping, do your thing. We'll go hunt and we'll go spearfish, and then we'll meet you guys for dinner. How about that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yep.
but no, that's really awesome, man. Honestly, it's cool to see all the things that you're doing, and again, you're just living your life and enjoying it and sharing that with other people. I kind of want to hit on a couple things here at the beginning. Well, first off, I guess let's start with the big one. Where did Boarman come from? What is that about? I can assume things, but I want to hear your story with that one.
Man, I've hunted a lot of boars. It's kind of like the go-to thing to hunt here in Hawaii, right? On our island, we have pigs, sheep, and goats, all fun to hunt, all good eating. But I ended up you just hunting a lot of pigs. It's like the most accessible thing. And I've also had some very unique experiences hunting them. I've been charged by them. I've had to shoot 3 of them now with my bow charging straight at me,
Mm.
um, which is very exciting. I've been chased by them, and my brother-in-law started calling me Boarman, and so it was just simply a nickname for a long time, and other people started calling me that, and then it kind of turned into this thing with me and my brother-in-law just joking around. It's like letting that animal side out because we work out together too, and so we're always like joking around about different things and just letting that animal side out in you, especially like it's easy to do when you're working out because you kind of need
Hmm.
to like dig deep and making funny jokes like sharpen your tusks and stuff like that because the boars will sit there and like chomp their tusks
Hmm.
and sharpen them. So it's like we're getting our tusks ready. So when we got to go to battle with these boars.
That's awesome.
So
That's awesome.
yeah, that's kind of where the name came from. And then I kind of just uh, we made some shirts and stuff. I don't. We'll probably do some more stuff with it, just because I do like that um, inspiration to try let that animal side out a little bit, dig into that like our primal instincts a little bit. I don't want to go to. There's definitely a lot of people kind of tapping into that. I would say marketplace where it's a little too overdone for me.
Hmm.
I'm real playful in my approach to a lot of things. So like I'm not gonna liver king it out and like get all primal like that. But there is definitely something to it. There's definitely something to it to when you can just like rely on your instincts on what we have inside of us and not think too much. And I just like being able to tap into that and hunting. and working out are two of those things. It's very easy to get into that where you're just going off instincts.
No, that's really cool. And I kind of assumed it had to do with the hunting, the boar hunting, but isn't it funny how nicknames kind of stick and they turn into something bigger? That's really cool. I'd love to, or I loved going out in Texas and shooting boars. We did some night vision hunting on a property, and that was fun. They make some of the weirdest and most demonic sounding noises. And one of the times we set out a call. And you could see them with the thermals. You could see them all in the bush line, and there was one that just came charging out. I'm assuming it was the mama, and she came just bolting right towards that call, and they're just making the nastiest noises. And like what you were saying, where they chomp their teeth, and people that haven't seen a wild boar, like they have like these whetstones almost. You think they're another tusk, but it's like a whetstone on the bottom that when they chomp, it just sharpens the crap out of their upper teeth, and it's intense. Like you can touch it and slice your finger open. So that's really cool. I bet that was a strange experience having to shoot a boar head on. Do you ever knife hunt with them? Because I've seen some of the guys out there that go crazy and they go like full machete on a boar instead of a weapon. Like what?
Yeah.
Do you
So
ever do
like
that?
I've gone out with friends. So that like most of the time what it is you're hunting with dogs.
Mm.
Two different types. Like guys will have dogs that will bay them up and just sit there and bark at them and corner them. And then there's other dogs that'll grab their ears and go in and like attack them. And same thing, it kind of corners them. And then you get in there, and while they're cornered up, you get a hold of their back legs. And once you get their back legs up in the air, like wheelbarrow status, then they're pretty helpless, honestly.
Mm.
And the big ones, it's, it can be a little wild hanging on to them.
Oh yeah.
And then you can dump them over on their side and use your knife to dispatch them. Done that with some friends. I'm not the biggest fan of it, just because like it's a fun hunt if you're just going out to hang out with the boys and BS,
Mm-hmm.
And I obviously hunt too, but like it is very, very effective. Like if you're trying to hunt pigs, it is the most effective way, just because those dogs can smell them. They can get in and find their homes where you'd never see them there.
Yeah.
But it's not super appealing to me, just because the dogs are doing most of the work, and it's like, I've done it, but not my favorite. I've chased one down in an open field before and cornered it, and then it came after me. Once they're cornered, they're either going to stay on the ground or come after you. And I've caught one that way, and once I got a hold of it, I dispatched it with a knife. But like, because it's the only way once you're that close,
Yeah.
I don't think you could choke one out. You could probably try choking one out, but honestly, like their neck is so like big, like I don't know, maybe it'd be interesting to see, but I think a knife is a little cleaner.
They're little tanks for people that haven't
100%.
seen them. I recommend you go look up the anatomy of a wild boar. I mean, they're like, they've got plates of armor everywhere, and even their ribs there's less space between their ribs compared to other mammals. They're just these little balls of muscle and bone.
They're absolutely like they're wild, dude. Like they're one of my favorite animals. Just because they're so crazy. They're just crazy, and just strong, and just the will to live on them is unlike any other. Like goats are weak. Like you shoot a goat and they're like, oh, they die they die easy, and like
they make that exact sound too.
Yeah, but like pigs are just they're just built different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. That's really cool. And so you don't have any access on your island?
No, our island does not have any access deer.
Gotcha.
We did for a little bit. Somebody brought some over, and then they found them and eradicated them.
Gotcha. Because they're pretty much all invasive species in Hawaii. Isn't that correct? There wasn't really any native.
Yeah, here's the funny thing is like the pigs definitely are like every all of them are invasive, but the pigs were brought over by humans when they
Mhm.
first came over. So you could call us invasive species too. You know what
Yeah,
I
I guess
mean? Like
that's true.
we sit. It's funny. Like we sit and complain so much about these pigs when one we're the ones that brought them over, and we came over at the same time, and like, oh, they're so destructive. And it's like, yeah, I guess we all are, you know. But I get it. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I get it. Especially like, you know, you get them, dude. They'll come right here at my house and just dig up my banana plants and stuff. It's like, dude, get out of here. They'll find their way under fences and stuff, and you know, tear your whole garden up and everything.
And yeah, I've seen one bust through um, a wire fence in Texas. I mean,
Yeah,
we were chasing it. We were going down the road, and it busted through a fence one way, and it was running out in front of our ATV. And the guy, man, these Texans are brutal with these things because
yeah,
he's like trying to speed up to run this thing over. Like he's not.
yeah,
He's just like, get him, and then this board just turns almost at a 90-degree and just plows through this fence. I was like, holy crap! And it's just because they're just built, like you said, they're built different.
yeah,
It's a whole different animal. So,
yeah.
man, that's really cool. So I guess let's talk a little bit about we brought up something interesting, and I want to talk about it because I haven't I had a podcast that I recorded recently where I haven't talked a lot about religion on my podcast, and we don't necessarily have to go down the religion rabbit hole, but the idea of faith, and also I just found something out about you, which again I don't judge people that drink or do drugs or any of that stuff as long as you're not harming someone else. I don't care
Mhm.
what you do, but I've never drank or done drugs in my life, and you're saying, that you've never drank in your life,
Mhm.
and that was interesting to me. I kind of joked and said, "Are you Mormon too?" But you had a very interesting point of view on that. So if you want to maybe enlighten some people as to why you've made that decision.
Okay, so you know, I was yeah, it was there, right? It's like available to me if I wanted it. And you know, 10, 11 years old, like friends smoking weed, drinking, young. And I don't know what it was at that time that I was like, nah, I'm good, you know? Like my parents weren't super strict, like they weren't drilling it in my head that like, hey, you can't do this because we're gonna beat your ass, or religious purposes. They weren't, you know, like, hey, that's a sin, don't do that. But I just didn't. And then, you know, as I got older, I realized like I had an aunt and uncle that were full cokehead alcoholics, and I seen that firsthand, you know, that the craziness that can create, the fights. So looking back on it, it's very obvious why I kind of stayed clear of it, because I saw where it led on a you know, deeper side. And then as I grew up through my teenage years, I had a lot of friends just go down the wrong path, you know, just starting with, you know, they call it the gateway drug. And yeah, some people can smoke weed and just drink a little bit, and it's all different for everybody. But there are some people who I seen start with that, then pretty soon they're smoking meth and they're snorting coke, or you know, smoking crack, and it's like, dude, that messes you up. And I seen some of my closest friends just like totally different people from it. And I have another friend that overdosed on meth and passed away. And that was when I finally was like, I'm gonna make a commitment to myself to never do that. You know, I don't want any part of that. I got other ways to kill myself, like, you know, doing all this other wild stuff. It's like that to me. Um, it just was something that I didn't want to go down that road, you know? And so it wasn't really for the religious purposes. It was just from what I seen, you know, and I knew enough about myself to know that I'd probably be into it, you know, being the adrenaline seeking person that am. And if I never tried it, I would never know what I was missing. Because if I tried it, I might be like, dude, I want some of that, you know, or
Mm-hmm.
like you start jonesing for it. So I told myself I'd never tried it. I'd never know what I'm missing. Um, and it was easy as that. And I just made that commitment to myself. And yeah, from there I went.
Yeah, exactly. And that's an awesome decision. And again, like you said, it's different for everyone, you know, and it's just it's interesting hearing that, because with the, you know, the outdoors industry and the stuff that you've done, you know, more adrenaline junkie stuff than I'll ever get into, with dirt biking and off-roading trucks and overlanding and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's something that you really enjoy, but it's prevalent in those industries to have a drink, have a beer at the end of the day. Sometimes you go, you know, most people that I know don't go blackout drinking, but they have some beers and they hang out, and that's their way of kind of loosening up in social environments. And you found that you don't need that to enjoy and create the relationships that you have with so many outstanding individuals that you have. And so that's really awesome to see. And I'm sure not many people, I mean, it's not really something that comes up in conversation until there's drinks around. And they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, do you want one?" And you have that kind of brief conversation, almost awkward moment the first couple times. But I've also recognized that the people that I like to stick around, that I like to have in my circle, are people that don't pressure you after you know, kindly reject the drink.
Yeah.
That most of those people understand and respect the decision that you've made, and they don't pressure it anymore. And they don't shun you either. They keep you in their circle and having the conversations.
I will say when I was young, I would judge people
Mm-hmm.
just because I'm judging my peers. And, you know, when you're 16 and people are drinking and doing drugs, I knew that it wasn't going to end good for them. You know, they weren't doing it for the right reasons, I guess you'd say. But
Mm-hmm.
like, I do. So, like, when I was young, I would judge people, and I kind of regret that, honestly, because just people should do their thing, you know? And now it's funny because people, sometimes I get not excited, but like when people are drinking, I know that it's going to loosen them up.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I'm going to have these good conversations with them or really get a dig in. Whereas like they don't allow themselves to do that without that. And maybe they truly do need that to open up that space in their brain. I know there's a lot to be said for that. With like, I talked to a friend who did ketamine therapy recently.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just never felt that for me, that I needed it, and I was able to open up and um, kind of. But who knows? My one friend is always joking with me that he's like, "Dude, thank God you don't drink," just because I get myself in enough trouble as it is, and like I'll say stupid stuff when I'm not supposed to say it, and who knows what I would be like, you know,
With a
if I
couple
was
drinks in
drinking
you.
and doing drugs. Like, it probably wouldn't be very good for me, honestly.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's so funny because there's so many parallels there. I've said the same thing. I enjoy. I don't need that social lubricant. And it's interesting to me. You know, I get up at church and I give talks and I speak with people and go to these social events, and I don't have any issue having conversations with people. Um, and but a lot of people, and I guess it's either the number one or number two fear in the world is social speaking and speaking at events or speaking with new people. And I'm like, I've never maybe I just take that anxiety and I recognize it as excitement rather. I don't know, but I don't know the trick behind it. I just know I've never really felt that. But I also know that people explain to me, they're like, they feel better like a social lubricant when they've had a couple drinks, which I'm
Yeah.
cool with. Cause like you said, you get to have those good
Yeah.
conversations and you get to remember those conversations.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think, yeah, I guess we should just count our blessings on and not kind of feeling like we need that, even though,
Mhm.
you know, some people, that's all good. They do their thing, and I
Yep.
love them. And, you know, I got plenty of friends who drink and smoke, and I love them, dude. No hate, do their thing.
Mm-mm.
I was, you know, telling my daughter recently that I I definitely feel the alcohol has a way worse effect than smoking weed. Just because I guess some kids at her school got busted smoking weed. And I was just trying to explain to her the differences. And man, yeah, alcohol can mess some people up. And so can it all. But yeah, all good. But yeah, as far as religion stuff that we're talking about, is I just find it so interesting. Like, one, religions in general, man, they're going out of style. And I feel like they need to go back in style just because it's such a great thing, having a community and a group of morals that you're all attached to. I do feel like in the past, it's been so easy to get people attached to it because you could be like, hey, if you don't do this, the Lord's going to strike you down, and you're also going to spend a lifetime in hell. And the fear of that and the knowledge that we had back then, like now you can kind of like Google everything and like understand how the world works. And like on a like molecular level of like, oh, this is how things are made, this is what's in space. There's like not very many unknowns anymore, whereas back then there's so many unknowns that I feel like it was a little bit easier. That this is gonna sound bad, but tricking people into just like one thing, right? So I feel like that knowledge has taken a lot, and that's a lot of people's attention away from it, because like the biggest thing in any of those religions is having faith, right? So I see the benefits of it, and I have joked about this with friends, and spent hours talking about this. Is like the Church of Boar, which is like, because I went deep into this on an elk hunt, dude. I was sitting in an elk blind. I've never sat in a blind in my life. I got invited on this elk hunt, and there's giant elk in that area, so it's kind of like worth it to try something different. I sat in a blind for 8 or 9 days, and well, you got a lot of time on your hands, and I went deep into thinking about this religion, how to save the world. And honestly, if you look at history, religion has been the one thing in history that has spread quickly, like a set of morals has spread very quickly. Even look at Mormons, dude. How long ago was the Mormon faith, or whatever that is? When did that start?
Oh man, now you're putting me on the spot. It's been
let's say 100 years.
A couple hundred years.
A couple hundred years. Dude, couple hundred years. Look at how big the church is. Look at how amazing, the families are. That I have friends that are LDS, right? And the faith that they have, the way they raise their kids, the communities that they're a part of. It's huge. So like, I just think that religion is very interesting to me. The biggest thing I hate, and I will say hate about it, is the judgment that comes with it. Like, as far as my understanding of it, we're not supposed to judge people, right? The Lord's supposed to do that. Like, you come to the gates of heaven, and like the Lord's supposed to be there, be like, dude, remember that time you stole that car? I'll be like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that. But as far as us, we're not supposed to judge people like, hey, you shouldn't be drinking, you shouldn't be, like that. That's not our position. But also, hey, your religion's not the right religion. Like you need to not be following this religion. You need to, or go to war over it, right? Like how many wars have we seen over religion? So
yeah,
I just wish we could find like that happy medium, get that.
Oh yeah.
It's just very interesting. Religion is very interesting to me, and I definitely like have thought a lot about it and the different religions that are out there, and the effects it has on people in our communities.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny because so we had a deep talk. It was about 2-hour drive back home driving from the cabin we were at back to my buddy's house. before I flew back home.
Mm-hmm.
And he's Christian, so he was, asking me about the LDS religion, and there's not a lot of LDS where he's from in Kentucky. And so we were just talking about, our beliefs on premortal existence here on this life, where you go afterwards. And something for me, and I agree with you on the whole judgment thing, is, and I've come, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not perfect, so I can't say that I've never judged somebody. But once I got to the realization that I'm not perfect, and I don't envy God in having to judge people, because there's so many factors that go into it. Like, when there's alcohol involved, like what you were saying, or mental illness, or a poor decision, or anger, or whatever could be influencing the decision at that time, God has to take that into effect when he judges the person. And having those conversations, I can imagine, are not going to be very fun with me either. I like to picture it as I get to go sit in a room, like a little personal theater with Christ and God, and we're going to like fast play like on ×2 my life, and
Oh
just
man.
watch everything and then pause it. He's going to pause it and be like, hey, you remember when you did this? Yeah. And like kind of have that conversation. I kind
Oh
of joke
man.
about, thinking about that. And so I agree. The whole judgment thing, I've tried to steer clear of it. I'm not perfect. And there's times that you definitely should judge your peers, because you don't want to be dragged down by your peers.
Mm-hmm.
But don't judge them as in condemning them. You're trying to feel them out and see if that's really someone you want to keep in your circle, or are they going to hold you back? And religion is definitely something that should evolve with time, as far as, like, I know I grew up with, you didn't talk about sex, you didn't really talk about drugs. It's just, no, don't do it. And it's never really a why. And then I take the approach with my kids of, if you ask me the question, I'm going to answer you. So like when they come to me and they ask me, I'm like, you sure you want the answer? I'll give you the answer. But like,
Yeah.
when you come to me and you ask me, how are babies made?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you, are you sure? And I'll give you an age appropriate answer, but you're going to get the real answer. It's not going to be some stork that flew in with a baby carrying it,
Yeah. Birds and the bees.
Exactly. And so we're very open. And I feel like that's how leadership in our church, anyway, if you sat down and talked with them, that's how they are. But when the trickle down effect, and you get people involved with their own biases, it steers a little bit further away from Christ's pure religion, or Christ's pure belief, faith, because you get people involved. And when you get people involved, there's so many variables there. Like it's hard to control all of them. So I agree. There's plenty of religions out there. They're all vessels trying to get us back to Christ and God. And you got to find the one that works best for you. And for me, I've chosen what I've chosen because they answer all my questions. I have like weird scientific questions and I get answers. And I'm like, all right, well, I mean, you got answers for me. So, I felt comfortable enough to go serve in Mexico for 2 years and talk about it with people in a different language.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's why I am where I am.
Love it. Yeah, like, dude, it's so interesting to me. I could go for hours talking about this. And the one thing I just want to touch on is like, my thought was, let's combine it all, dude. Like, let's look at all the good things that go on and all this stuff, like Buddhism, Christianity, Mormon, Muslim. I'm sure that they all have good values in there, and let's really point out why those values are the way they are. Like, why shouldn't we drink alcohol? Well, here's why. Because, like, look at the health reasons of it, and then also look at these things that things that happen, and maybe that could be altered a little bit on like explaining, like, it's not the drinking the alcohol, it's like the over abuse of it. So abusing alcohol might be the right verbiage, but there's so much into it that I would love to see, like, an updated version of a church, the way that religion used to spread throughout the world. I'd like to see an updated version of that, and like something like CrossFit that's like almost is like its own little religion, right? Because there's like, it's all over the country and people are so like into it, that have some kind of fitness aspect to it, have some kind of community aspect to it. And it's just, to me, that's the answer to all our problems. That's world peace right there. We need to come up with some type of religion that everybody can believe in. Everybody can get behind the set of morals that we're trying to live by. And that's it, man. That's the answer.
Yeah. It definitely all starts in the home. There's a lot of things, like I've stopped watching the news and things like that. And my wife will bring something to me. I'm like, oh, I haven't heard about that. And she's like, how have you not? I said, I don't watch the news because I don't know what to believe at this point. I said, what I do believe though is I'm in control of what happens in this house, and what my kids become. They will at least have been taught correctly. They can obviously make their own decisions as they grow, but they will know why I do things the way that I do, or why I raise them the way that I do. You know, when a kid complains about a chore, I get to explain to them, well, right now it's doing dishes. In the future, you're going to have your wife telling you, why didn't you do the dishes? So it's like, it's like, do it now. And then, and it won't be so much of a burden later, and it won't cause those little arguments in your marriage in the future. Or with your roommates, you know, when you move into college,
100%,
you know, things
dude.
like that. But it just starts in the home. It starts in the home, no matter what religion. It's just be a good person, be a contributor to society. And then going back to something that we've talked about with building relationships with the people that we've had the privilege of building relationships with, that are doing some amazing things with some big companies and just continuing to grow, not just plateauing out, but continuing to grow. It's not all about, hey, what can you give me? It's more of that value exchange of like, I want to get to know who you are, and I really appreciate the knowledge that you're teaching me so that I can become a better version of myself. And I just hope to be able to contribute that back to you as well. You know, the same principle applies at home. You know, with kids, when they come home blaming their teachers, I'm like, yes, there's some teachers that suck, but what did you do to contribute to the situation? You know, like, because you can't control the teacher, you can control yourself. So, yeah.
100%, man. I couldn't agree more. I love that. Too easy, right? It's like, just take care of your own, but it's can't teach that to the masses. I don't know how you can, but it seems like there's a lot out there who aren't doing that. So all we can do is focus on ourselves, you know, like listen to our own advice. And
it broke my heart. I heard a recording that got translated into English. It was during one of the conflicts that's going on right now. I don't want to go way too down the rabbit hole of it, but the kid that was, I call him a kid, he's a young adult, that had killed a bunch of his enemies, had broken into their home, slaughtered the family, and called his parents bragging about what he had done. And his parents were congratulating him like he had just won the state championship wrestling tournament or something like that. It almost brought me to tears, because I'm like, again, going back to, you control your household. That's how he was genuinely raised. He doesn't know better. He really does think it is like winning the state wrestling championship. For him, he's accomplished something that he's dreamt of ever since he was a little kid, because his dad drilled it into his head. That's what you need to do to be a man of God, or whatever their higher power is that they believe. And it was heart-wrenching, because it just, I'm like, I can't imagine one of my kids calling me and bragging over something like that. You know, like, it blows my mind.
It's, everybody lives in a different reality. And like, it's so hard for us to understand that. It's so hard for humans to understand that everybody has been raised differently. They've seen different things in their life. They've had different experiences in their life that maybe make them feel a certain way. And we're all individuals, man. That's where we get into so much trouble with all this like racism and all this stuff, is like, dude, even the people who are trying to tell you like not to be racist, you're in a way like categorizing people into one thing. You know, it's like, we're all individuals. You know, if you want me to not feel a certain way about somebody because their color of their skin, that's fine. I got no problem treating them as an individual, but don't assume that that person, just because their skin's a certain color, that I need to assume they're going to be a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I everybody just needs to be understand that everybody's an individual and everybody's reality is so different. And you meet somebody like that who just like is down to slay his enemies, man. He doesn't know any better. He just like was
Mm-hmm.
raised like that. He's just in it, just such a different reality. So that is definitely on like the extreme side of it,
Yep.
right? Um, it's crazy, but that's not for us to judge, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Whether what he, you would have to assume that deep down he feels a question of what's right and what's wrong. But who knows, dude? I don't know.
Well, he's
Maybe
calling
not.
his parents for validation, you know,
Yeah.
and that again, that's the thing where it instead of being angry with that individual, it made me, and this is something that I really learned on my mission when I served in Mexico for 2 years. I wasn't all about pushing Christ down people's throats. It was more for me learning the culture, learning how I can best serve the people, and learning about them because I recognized they live a completely different life than I do.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like, there is no comparison. I can't compare it. They don't deal with heated water. They don't have carpet. They don't, some of their doors don't close all the way.
Yep.
The houses were built crooked, like all of these things like that we wouldn't tolerate here in the US. I got to go down there and experience and just fell in love with the people down there because my heart reached out to them, and that a lot. And I wish every single young man and woman would be able to have that experience so that they stop complaining about what we have here in the US and learn how blessed we are, or maybe everyone should just go live at Danny Bolton's house and get that backyard view, and then they would just appreciate life that much more.
Yeah. I mean, it's great, but damn, dude, like taxes are high, stuff's expensive here.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like I love Hawaii, born and raised here, but man, it's a tough place to live
Mm,
in certain ways. It's easy to live here because it's like nice right now. The weather's
mm,
nice. It's going to be nice tomorrow. I don't got to worry about it snowing.
yeah.
But it's not without its own challenges.
Right.
Yeah, people, man, uh, I just, it's crazy to think how good we do have it in this country. And we should just feel blessed. I don't know. To me, it'd be amazing to like try to set a roadmap on what we have here so that other countries, I feel bad. Like I do feel a little not guilty, but like, man, we got it good in America.
Mm-hmm.
We were just lucky to be born here, you know, and we could have been born somewhere else, and
Yeah.
our realities would have been different. They do say that like people who struggle and stuff, they have a lot of happiness, whereas like people who always have it good and stuff, they're like not very happy, and it's
Mm,
crazy how the mind does that, right? I've read a bunch of books and stuff on that, but I do feel like there's a lot of struggle out there in this world that doesn't need to be there. Why? I feel like corruption, whether it's in the government or big corporate things, it's like I do feel like the freedom that we have here in America is the reason why we have it the way we have it. It's the freedoms that, we fought, like the people fought for to have in this country. And hey, I have like Native American blood in me. And I feel that like, damn it, dude, like would have been sick to still have that teepee lifestyle, dude. And so and I feel that like growing up here in Hawaii, I'm not Hawaiian by blood, but we're not too far removed here in this culture over here to how it was. But man, it was ugly back then, dude.
yeah.
You're fighting other tribes. There was some stuff here in Hawaii where like there were some rules, man, that were brutal, and for some it was good, for others maybe not so good. It's just that freedom, I feel like, that we have here that other countries don't have that freedom.
Yeah.
And oh man, I just with that freedom though, we're starting to lose it. slowly, dude.
Becoming
A
lazy,
little bit.
and complacent, and taking the foot off the gas. Some people would say, and just kind of and that's what's happening. When you get bored, you start noticing things that you wouldn't necessarily complain about otherwise. And then you start talking yourself into this negative attitude of what life is. And so yeah, just and then the constant comparison on social media, of just scrolling and endless scrolling and all of those things. It all combines to an unhappy lifestyle. And so
Yeah.
again, just going back to building up your family the best way possible, whether you're, two husbands, two wives, a man and a woman, if you have kids, then it's your obligation and your duty, because you signed up for that when you had a child, to make sure that they come out better than you and learn from your experiences. Whether they choose to accept that and go through their own trials and learn from their own trials, that's up to them, but you can at least impart your knowledge on them. And so, it's something that I constantly try and keep in the back of my mind as I'm going through and seeing my kids. I'm like, well, how much do my kids see me on my phone? How much do my kids see me on my laptop? How much do my kids yearn for my attention? And I need to be more conscious of that when they're home, kind of deal, because they need that's where they're going to learn from. How do they spend their time? So with that being said, let's shift a little bit to some fun stuff like gear talk. You went and made an awesome video, which if people haven't, are listening to this and haven't seen the video, where have you been? But go check out the PSE commercial for the Mach 30. Danny and John just knocked it out of the park. Again, Danny's over there running a marathon in flip-flops and, doing push-ups and pull-ups and all this other stuff, looking yoked. And got John over top of him screaming in his ear, which I'm not gonna lie, that was a little strange. I know John, and he's definitely not like that. And so putting him in that situation, it was kind of it was funny.
I
It was
loved it,
comical.
dude, because honestly, a lot of what people see of John Dudley online, social media, YouTube, is him sharing his knowledge of archery. And he takes that very seriously, dude.
Oh yeah.
He loves archery and he takes it very serious. Dude, he's a funny guy. His personality is hilarious. You hang out with him. We've had some amazing nights of just kicking back, just, joking around with each other. And he is a very fun person to be around. So to kind of break him out of that, of what you normally see, of him kind of just sharing that knowledge and get into some of this, just into a character where we're just joking around. It was fun, dude. It was a blast to share that time with him and to be able to just goof around and not take it too serious,
Yeah.
The video was meant to be not very serious, right? Honestly, I get it. You don't even need to work out for some of the hunting, it's hunting has such a everybody's got their opinions on what you need to be bow hunting, rifle hunting. You need to be working out. You need to be running. It's dude, let people do their thing. I think it was funny to get into some of the working out on a playful side of it. And John was fun to film that with.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I'm going to branch off of that, what you just said here in a little bit, because this is something that, I'm talking about it. And then of course, First Phorm Outdoors is really trying to hit the Eastern and Midwest market on this as well with, and I say market, but people, because you don't have to be in shape to drag a deer out necessarily. You don't have to be in shape to shoot a rifle.
Dude, dragging deer is no joke. But maybe the other things go on.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, it's less about how fit you are for Midwestern and Eastern hunters. And even if you hunt, maybe you go hunt a farm or whatever, but it's more about how long are you going to be able to do it for?
100%.
Because if you're not taking care of your body even you, like you said, you can just do body weight movement. You can just live an active lifestyle like you did before you got into weightlifting, and enjoy life that way, and maintain your nutrition. You don't have to track it down to a T if you're not trying to get shredded, things like that. But maintain a healthy weight, get checked regularly by your doctor, and check your nutrition so you're not just drinking and eating tacos all the time. And that is what we're trying to get through to the Eastern and Midwest hunters, because there's a huge market for working out supplementation in the West. Huge, because that's what people need to be able to climb up that mountain, to go find the mule deer, the elk, sheep, whatever. You got to be in shape. After sitting in a tree stand for the last week, I realized my step count, like I got that little alert from Apple. It was like, your step has changed over the last week. I was like, I look at it, I was like, oh man, like there was very little activity. But if you want to enjoy that lifestyle for longer, share it with your kids, your grandkids, be able to get in some tree stands that have a weight limit. Saddles, for example, have more versatility to your hunt. Then you need to maintain a level of fitness that will allow you to do that. You want your heart to be strong, your liver, your mind to be clear. You don't want to have that sleep apnea issue where you fall out of a tree stand because you fall asleep in the stand. Like all of those things are not being talked about enough, I feel like. And people are just like, well, I don't need to be a bodybuilder to drag out a deer. I agree. But how long do you want to be doing this for is what I would counter that statement 100%. With. If you don't want to be doing it for very long, that's cool. Go enjoy yourself. Do whatever the frick you want. Awesome. More power to you. But if you want to share it with future generations, you need to take care of yourself today and tomorrow, and a little bit at a time, you will live longer. And there's ways to do that.
So like my take on it is much like that. Like, and when I was saying joking around, because like there is some people take it too serious, right? They're just unless you're Cam Hanes, you're not a bow hunter unless you're running, So like, and I don't think Cam, I love seeing Cam stuff, and I love the inspiration that he puts out, and he's gnarly, dude. But people interpret it in a certain way, and they want to get on that. They want to get on that train too. And it's like, here's the deal. You need to be working out, period, for life. That's the way it should be. And you know what? God's going to wave his finger at you if you don't, like that's the way I think it should be. Like there should be some kind of fear, and you need to be taking care of yourself, dude. You need to be healthy. That's it. That's all there is to it. To hunt, cool, but for life in general. And man, I was able to stay pretty active, and it got to a point where I couldn't even do certain things, especially the things I love, surfing and spearfishing. But dude, I was crawling around my house on my hands and knees for 2 days, 3 days, and I did that like 2 different times. I twisted my back and couldn't even walk. I'd be crawling around my house on my hands and knees. So that's no good. That is no good. That's no way to live. I started lifting weights, doing strict just back squats, deadlifts, nothing too crazy, no crazy movements. I'm not trying to do snatches or anything. Cured it. That's all there is to it. I want to keep surfing. I want to keep spearfishing. I want to be able to go hunt with my daughter, which I just did. We went to Montana, hunted. Guess what? If I was out of shape on that hunt, would have been no good, because we ended up packing out a deer. She shot a mule deer. One trip. I loaded all the quarters, and I had all kinds of other stuff, dude. I had all our, tripod, rifle, all that other stuff. I packed up the 4 quarters. I load her up because I knew like I had plenty of weight, and she needed to carry some of this weight too. She had probably like 35 pounds, dude. The route we took to get out of there took us 5 miles to get out. And it was like brutal. And she was just killing it. Like, obviously suffering with me, but, and then, whitetail hunting, I get it, dude. I could see, I've sat in the blind, but you want to be in shape, dude. You want to be able to dragging deer is no joke. man.
Yeah.
If you're dragging deer, you're getting after it, you know. But yeah, we must be in shape. And Jake, First Forms, you know, kind of got me on my nutrition game a little bit more now. I got some. I never took any supplements or anything like that, but
Yeah.
I suffer from it. You know, like this technology is out there for us to learn, you know, what we need and what we need in our bodies, and let's use it, man. And as far as working out and hunting goes, you you should be doing something just for exactly like you said, dude, the longevity of it. You're in your 20s, maybe you're active enough in your life already that you don't need to hunt, you don't need to work out because maybe you're active already and you're not really seeing that as something. But yeah, you get a family, you know, you're at home with your kids all the time and working. It's hard to squeeze in that activeness, and
Yep.
sometimes working out because you're going to do something intentional for a half an hour, go lift weights, go do some body weight stuff. That's an intentional decision that you have to make because your body needs it, dude. You need
Yep.
that activity. So I'm with you, dude. Definitely need to be staying active, and
Yeah.
just staying active is not enough, dude. I've tried that, and I wasn't building muscle in places that I need to be building muscle. So for me, it's definitely something that's a necessity, and I
Oh, yeah.
have to do it. I have to do it, or else my back starts getting twisted up, and I can't do the things that I want to go do. And if you're a Midwest hunter or, you know, whitetail hunter sits in a stand or blind, um, you know, why not look good when you're up there? No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
But like, but
Exactly. No, for real though.
if you ever want to go hunt somewhere else or go hunt
Yeah.
the West, you know, you'll be in shape for that. Because yeah, the West will kick your ass in certain areas. Those mountains, man, no joke. You can train. I've tried to train for them. Nope. Still kicking your butt. But get out there and just, you know, get after it. But
Yeah.
you definitely need some fitness for some of that stuff.
No, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. So I went off on a tangent there, but let's get back to this commercial
Yeah.
with
Oh,
PSE, the
PSE.
Mach 30.
Dude,
So,
that bow, that first of all, that is the first carbon bow I've had,
okay.
and God, it shoots good. Like it's so quiet and just like
Mm-hmm.
smooth to shoot, almost to the point where I felt it like it was slow. I was like,
Mm.
well, this thing kind of slow because it was like so smooth. It does like, dude, it ain't slow. It just feels slow because it's so quiet. You're not feeling it like what, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Because you were shooting the Omen, weren't you?
I was shooting the Omen before, which is like that thing's a speed
That's a
bow,
speed
right?
bow. That is a
Yep.
speed demon.
Yeah. And
Oh yeah.
so yeah. But the commercial, dude, was a blast. We kind of tried to get some of that that 80s, you know, montage of like Rocky or something. And that's where like a lot of that workout stuff came from,
Yeah.
was like trying to just tap back into that like funniness. My favorite part of that whole commercial, which you only see a little glimpse of it, is there's a shot of me running in front of a tractor. That's John
Mm-hmm.
driving his tractor behind me at like, you know, 5:30 in the morning. How funny is that, dude? Like, here's this legend in the archery world, someone who I knew about before I actually met him, saw
Mm-hmm.
his videos, and then he's driving behind me in his John Deere tractor as I'm like running down this dirt
Oh
road,
yeah.
you know. Oh man, that was just amazing to me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was a great commercial. It was hilarious. I personally love the direction that PSE is going with their marketing and how things are moving along with them. And I love John's influence on it because, like you said, he's very serious when it comes to archery stuff, but he's also a very not serious person when it comes to outside of archery and not teaching archery.
Yeah.
You know, anyone that has shot his course on tack and then you walk up to him, like, he's hilarious. He's the funniest guy.
Yep.
But once he flips that switch of I'm teaching, it's just like you get this one, you know.
Yep.
And no, I love that bow. That Mach 30 is fantastic. I got my first whitetail with it. Ended up
Nice.
just getting a doe. Didn't have any shot opportunities on a buck, which
Yeah.
I'm going to go into that further as far as like saddle versus tree stand hunting. Because if I'd been in a saddle, I would have had a buck down. Being in a tree stand, you're stuck in a specific position, and he came from the one wrong position that he could have come from. Of course, that's
Yeah.
where he came from. So, and then, I almost shot a spike, or we'll call it an Ohio 11, because,
Nice.
you got the,
Perfect.
but
Yeah.
I chose to let him live another year. He'll be a monster next year. He'll be a good forky, but
Perfect.
oh man, but no, it's, shooting bows is a lot of fun. Messing around with gear is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to see what else you're going to be doing moving forward. But this being your first carbon bow, what else do you want to say about it? Is there any other thoughts you've got on it other than it's smooth, it's quiet, it's small?
I mean, dude, like you see the ones with the bronze, like the black and bronze. Come on, dude, that thing looks
Yeah.
sick.
Oh yeah. What color do you have? Is it all black?
It's like all black. It has a little
sweet.
bit of bronze on like the
Murdered
rim
out.
pockets, but it's
Yeah.
all black. No, the thing shoots amazing, and I'm excited to get it in some cold weather too, because I know that carbon doesn't get as cold, and I've definitely have walked around in some cold weather with a cold bow. But I was a little concerned with carbon bows and how light they are. I, in my head, thought that I like a heavy bow because it's going to be more stable. My little jitters of my hand aren't going to affect the bow as much if it's heavier and if it's a little windy or something like that. That was all in my head. And honestly, I haven't had that problem with it. Granted, I mean, like it does have like a stabilizer and stuff on it. It's not like super light. It's not that much different. So that was one of my thoughts on it before preconceived, but I've just loved shooting it. Honestly, it's taken me a little bit though to get used to. I changed everything, dude. I am shooting Dudley's 4-fletched Easton arrows now, and I switched to his thumb release, which I shot a wristband finger trigger release.
Oh yeah.
My whole time ever since I started bow hunting. I honestly haven't noticed a accuracy difference yet, and it's been a hard transition. It was a weird thing to get used to, but I know that there's supposed to be some accuracy differences there, and I am down for that, dude. Like, if I can be more accurate, come on. So, but I'm not going to expect it to just come right away. It's like, I know that I need to put in the work. And so I've been putting in the work, just shooting, trying to get those reps in, trying to get that good practice in too, and make sure not butchering the technique. So it's coming. I'm about back to where I was with a wrist strap, and now it's just a matter of just keeping consistent with it, and it really doesn't matter to me at this point because I've gotten used to the thumb release versus the wrist strap. So I could go either way now that I'm used to it, and I put in that time to get used to it, and we'll see where the benefits come. I've definitely have shot a few good arrows where you just like it kind of like going off that more back tension, and the thumb release has definitely, my back was sore in a different area. So like it's definitely using a different muscle. Like as much as I thought I could do it with my finger and use all those same muscles and get that surprise shot, which I'm pretty damn good at. I don't just like sit here and bink. But like it used some different muscles, dude. It's definitely doing something different.
100%. No, I agree. I switched over to a thumb release a year and a half ago, and or maybe it was almost 2 years ago. I don't know. But either way, I feel like I like it better. There are definitely some cons to it, just like there is everything else. Nothing's perfect. But no, that's cool. That's cool to hear.
Yeah.
You're switching over and finding those accuracy differences, and hopefully we'll see you smack some boars with it here soon.
Heck yeah, that's the plan.
That's awesome.
So yeah, the bow's shooting good. I mean, I just love how quiet it is, and I'm very, very excited to get it out to hunt some axis deer because
Oh yeah.
they can be a little twitchy and they can jump your string really easy.
Mm-hmm.
So just mentally going into it, knowing I have a quieter bow is maybe going to give me that confidence that I need
Yeah.
to make certain shots. And hopefully they don't jump the string, and they just
You're
stand
shooting
there.
the Mach 30, not the knock on 30.
Yep, just the Mach 30. Yep, and
Okay.
it's got
Yeah.
the different cams than the Mach 30 will have. I didn't shoot the difference between the two, but I'm loving the one I got, so I'm getting used to it. I'm gonna stick with it for a while.
What's your draw length?
28
Yeah.
half, somewhere in
so
there.
So we're very, very similar there. Yeah, I think the knock on is just the E2 cam. So you'd probably honestly be a little bit slower going to that one just because you'd be more at the bottom of that cam. Anyway, yeah, the Mach 30 is awesome. It's ripping, man. The arrows, mine are 450 grains and it's flying out at 303. So I mean, it's ripping.
It's ripping.
So yeah,
yep,
it's an awesome bow. 100%.
And for how smooth it is, it's like,
oh yeah,
I don't feel like it's ripping, but you got to trust it, you know.
Oh, and so I've got people that generally shoot 65, 70 pounds, and they wanted to borrow mine to see how it felt. Mine's at I think it's like 78, and they pull it back and they're like, "Huh, you sure that's at 78 pounds?" I'm like, "Yep."
Yeah,
it's a smooth bow for sure.
Awesome.
Okay, man. Well, I've had you for an hour. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about for the audience or leave with them before we hop off here? And I'll let you go enjoy that view and all the waves and everything else you got going on.
Yeah, I'm gonna weed whack over here. I got a bunch of weeds in the back. And we're talking about like shoulder high weeds. Just the joys of living in Hawaii, lots of rain, lots of weeds.
Paradise.
So, yeah, I don't know. Just be a good person, man. I don't know if that was like any advice I try to give anybody, but I don't want to give anybody advice. I want them to live how they live and see the benefits of what they do on their own. I'm going to keep doing my thing and try to be the best I can be. And I appreciate you for having me on and being able to kind of talk about some of that stuff that we don't really talk about that often, mm-hmm. in a public setting. So yeah, just keep doing my thing.
Perfect. I love it.
Yeah.
Be a good person. That's a good, very simple, but very overlooked thing that I feel like a lot of people just don't pay attention to. They get caught up in that 9 to 5 grind and getting frustrated and all this other stuff. Just be a good person. I love it.
Yeah.
And don't move to Hawaii because Danny said that it sucks. So
yeah, don't move here. You can come visit, but you don't need to move here. Trust me.
That's awesome. Well, thanks, man. I'm gonna leave the links down below where you guys can find Danny and everything that he's up to and all the fun adventures that he goes on. And if you want to, other than your Instagram, I guess anywhere else you want to plug?
Nope. Just my Instagram, and it's just my name, Danny Bolton. I think if you type in Boarman, it kind of shows up sometimes, but that's not. I do have like one for Boarman, but just Danny Bolton. And I just pretty much stay like, I don't have the attention span to do any, that's it, just the one spot. Yep, that's it.
Sweet. I love it, man. Thanks so much for hopping on and talking to us today.
Of course.
Having this conversation is great. We'll have to get you on in the future when we've got another hour or two of your time that we can get you on and follow up. So with that being said, guys, everyone out there, I'm going to leave the links down below where you can find Danny. Definitely want to go check that out. There's also an article on Danny. Wasn't on Montana Knife Company. It's pretty sweet. And I'll leave that down below as well for you guys to go and check out for those of you nerds that like to read. And with that being said, like I always say, guys, get out, live your life, and love it.